lasers are often thought of as a tool just used in spy movies or the thing that comes out of a lightsaber. But in reality, they are very important to everyday life in a multitude of fields. From the advancing scientific world to your own home, lasers are everywhere.
Yes, clear up skin, improve eyesight, get various metals, and much more.
So what is a laser? The word laser actually stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. There are four types of lasers: solid-state lasers, gas lasers, dye lasers, and semiconductor lasers. There are specialized laser subclasses in each one of these categories. The way they differentiate is the material used to create them. Lasers use certain gas mixtures, while dye lasers use organic dye mixtures. Solid-state lasers often use certain crystal forms, and semiconductors use two layers of semiconductor materials pushed together.
So, what is the function of a laser? The way a laser works is very complicated. To put it simply, an electrical current passes through some crystals, certain glasses, or gases. This current excites the electrons in the crystal's glass or gas. The electrons then move from this excitement from a low energy orbit to a higher energy orbit. When the electrons are no longer excited, they return to the lower energy orbit. This creates an emission of a tiny particle called a photon. The photon is basically just a light particle. These photons are emitted at the same wavelength, which will usually create a narrow beam of radiation, aka a laser.
Lasers can be used in a variety of ways. For example, barcode readers, laser cutters, fiber optics, storage such as CDs and DVDs, and more.
Mechanics are used. It is used to show how and why electrons make leaps from energy level to energy level. These are referred to as quantum leaps. In order to perform a leap, an electron needs to get excited, so it needs to go from its ground state to a state above. This can be achieved from when the electron has energy added to it, possibly in the form of a photon, which is a particle representing a quantum of light. For the electron to advance from orbital to orbital, or as I mentioned before, energy level to energy level, it has to overcome the difference in energy between the orbital it's on and the one it's trying to go to. Once the electron is given excess energy by way of photons, they can stimulate other nearby atoms and therefore create more photons, which is how more can be emitted.
This creates a waterfall effect with photons constantly being made and transferring to other atoms. The electrons will also lose excitement and drop back down to their ground state. Now that we have the photons, we can see they have the same wavelength and energy, as well as move fairly parallel in the same direction. With this knowledge, scientists were able to see that an atom, or an active material, needed to absorb energy first from another source of light, causing a sequence of stimulated light emission. Once the light emission is stimulated, even more of it can be released through a device that is intended to be a laser.
How do lasers help society? Processing information, medical science, measurement, storing data, spectroscopy, and microscopy, lasers are used in various scientific fields. Lasers improve countless aspects of life. In medical science, they can be used for eye correction, tattoo removal, hair removal, and they are often used to make precise cuts with minimal blood loss. Here is a quick clip of lasers in action performing hair removal surgery. Lasers are a major tool in the medical field, and in that sense, have greatly aided society. Lasers are used to measure distance at pinpoint accuracy. They can also be used to scan barcodes or analyze data from discs, which allows you to watch your favorite movies and listen to your favorite music.
Although we don't always think about it, lasers are always being used and applied in so many ways to improve our lives. Without lasers, we would not be as technologically advanced as we are today. Scientists and researchers are also constantly finding new ways to use lasers to benefit society, including testing their military capability or even using them to analyze climate change patterns. Lasers have had a huge impact on society and helped society in countless ways.
Who discovered lasers? In 1900, Max Planck learned that there is a relationship between energy and the frequency of radiation. In 1905, Einstein released a paper on the photoelectric theory introducing photons. In 1927, Einstein proposed the way lasers could be made, except he called it stimulated emission. In the 1950s, Charles H. Towns, Arthur Schlell, and Gordon Gould theorized the specifics on how to build a laser. Finally, in 1960, Theodore Maiman created the first working laser at Hughes Research Lab.
So there's not much else they can do that we as humans didn't already know. As of now, lasers help us with many things that relate to information technology, telecommunications, medicine, manufacturing, analysis, and scientific research. That's what previous scientists hoped and intended something like the laser be used for. The expansion of lasers is definitely huge in terms of research because many universities have them so students can do research projects for their graduate degree or in the workplace for research in general. The use of lasers in places like the military have been big because this allows them to broaden their scope with range finding. We can perform laser surgery because of the advancement of lasers, with proper training of course. Another great finding with lasers has been fiber optic communication.
Lasers can cause injury or even damage to the body. If a laser is pointed in someone's eye, it can damage the retina, cornea, or the lens. High-intensity lasers can penetrate the skin at different levels, depending on the wavelength of the beam. This can burn the tissue and cause irritation to the skin. Lasers can also release ultraviolet rays, which can potentially cause mild burns, and in extreme cases, even skin cancer. Lasers, like any tool, should be treated with diligence and care, and despite the potential risks and side effects, when using or being exposed to lasers, the positives greatly outweigh the negatives.